Okay, send it. He did not show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm rolling now. So whatever we want to do. I guess yeah. Let's just talk a little bit about kind of what you guys have been up to, what the kind of vision is for New Arc.
Mm.
Maybe even do a little bit of brainstorming on kind of what you think you would want this to turn into if we end up doing more episodes of a podcast like this.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did talk about earlier is I would love to hear more about whatever this tech demo. Corey mentioned something about a tech demo for later this year. What kind of ideas you got for that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me on the podcast front, in terms of like what the topic is, um, especially like me being in this group right now is like this like I'm kind of the odd one out in terms of like my tech interest is not what your tech interest is.
Mm-hmm.
So if New York is more of a robotics type setup that, you know, really leans into your specialty, I do not have any experience with robotics. So like
Mm-hmm.
maybe like what kind of like is it you think this might be more of like a general robotics and AI or just tech in general, the state of the world, or even just like trying to build a better future with technology in mind. And, you know, I know Corey was talking a little bit about like that's kind of what the ideal mission is, right? Of,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, how can we make technology that actually like doesn't take away from being human and rather aids in being human? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, I know like my personal mission statement is how do you elevate humanity through technology as opposed to conform humanity around technology? And you can see that definitely from yeah, what's in your pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've formulate a form factor that can sit inside your pocket. You can carry it around and be addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
Does not elevate humanity for sure. I mean, it helps us, but it's more about addiction than anything else.
Yeah.
Um, but being in the forefront of what I think is coming down the future is what Corey and I are specifically excited about. And if you can get ahead of it and show a vision of what it could be, that's inspiring, at least to me. That's why I wake up and want to do this every day.
hmm Yeah. No, for me, uh, yeah, for me, it's just getting back to the basics or anything,
Mm-hmm.
embracing humanity on the entertainment side of things. Yeah, we've just strayed so far away where everything's so overly produced, and yeah, it's an addiction. We get sucked into blue laser beams and things of that nature. But we've lost story
Mm-hmm.
for spectacle, and it drives me up the wall. So that's my personal ambition.
Mm. Yeah, like I definitely see some of that, especially just in what the dialogue online is becoming. I'm seeing more and more people do things to make their smartphones dumb, do things to really get in the way
Mm-hmm.
of just spending more and more time on their phones. Especially like post COVID, a lot of people are really looking at how do I go to more live events because they want to be around people, they want to interact with people. Um, and I don't think you'll ever get rid of the kind of group of people that just want to doom scroll all day. But I think that the size of the doom scrolling population has kind of hit a critical mass, if you will. And then
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the people are realizing this does not make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
So what steps can I take to kind of divert my habitual patterns of scrolling? You know,
Mm-hmm.
what can I do or get interested in, or what places can I go to actually like build relationships, build community? Because it seems like that's what social media was really like sold as. It's like, hey, this is what community is going to be now. And everybody was like, this is amazing. This is great. And then everybody dove in and everyone's like, oh, wait a minute. This is just algorithmic marketing and this is not actual community. And
Mm-hmm.
it's all engagement bait. And so, yeah, just like, where do I go to find community and actually like engage with people that are like minded and, want to actually like build things together?
Yep. I remember I went to a conference not too long ago, and all the Meta and Google and the scientists on the social media side, they were showing all this data that they've proved. I'm like, I've increased 60%, 70%, 80% more time on platform. I'm just sitting back there. I was like, do you really want to tell everyone what you're doing? I mean, I feel like this is not something you want to put on your resume. This is something that you maybe want to hide. Like, this is how many hours I'm stealing away from people's lives. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not, and there's no market of value that I'm exchanging. It was just, I'm getting people addicted for longer. It's like almost, yeah,
Yeah.
well-paid drug dealers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like maybe this is not the world I want to live in. Um, so I don't know. Do we want to take it to the beginning where all this started?
Yeah, we can do that for sure.
Cool. Want me to kick it off or Corey?
You go for it. You approached
Uh,
me.
Oh, that's true. Um, so I work for a very large company, and back in 2023, actually the end of 2023 and going into 2023, my boss came and told me the senior guy says, "Hey, look into robotics. Um, can you give me some specification here?" I'm like, that's a pretty wide, broad band. He was like, "I have no idea." He was having a good time at the Christmas party, so just look at robotics. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go and do that. So because I'm a nerd, and um, I went and I put a 40-page PowerPoint presentation how autonomous robotics was the future there. Um, that's a chat GPT kind of moment, LLMs and everything was coming out and people were excited. Um, I don't know if you can hear that airplane going across the sky right there. We're in the back porch here for our listeners. But yeah, I put this 40-page PowerPoint together. We scheduled a big meeting. I was going to offload, what we're doing, where we're going, where I see the future is. And 5 minutes before, the senior VP goes, "Hey, no, you have too much stuff here. You have one slide. Show me." Walk in there, and he was like, "You know what? This is super interesting. But I thought you were just going to bring me a robot that just, has a camera on it. You can drive around in dangerous places." Like, oh, so sorry, I didn't know where you wanted, but I can do that too. He's like, no, 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 no. This is interesting as well. And during that time, it was just a fascinating time. I had a synopsis on humanoids and quadrupeds and all these things that I saw where it was going and applications we were going to put it in there. And I remember right now, 2023, people are laughing at me like humanoids will never come. Like, there's no useful thing. And within 6 months, that big blow up on humanoids. Everyone was excited about it. Now we're 2 years away down the line, and there's billions of dollars of VC capital running into it. And so it was just an incredible time to be the early, early person researching this. That's how I got sucked into it. But you know, from it's 3 years ago. We're 2026 now, and the capability of the hardware hasn't really changed. We're not really in manufacturing like with robots. Um, but I kept on thinking about this and evaluating the programs I'm running with legged robotics and wheeled robotics, and I just saw this human impact that was super important. Like, we started naming our robots. We started asking people, what kind of voice should the robot have? What do you think about that? What is that color? What is this name? And it ended up not being about the robots, and about the humans in manufacturing, right? I mean, the one thing it's not about humans, it's about getting the product out the door. But success was human robot interaction. And that led me into being like, maybe I should have a backstory for all these robots. And Corey and I started hanging out. I was like, Corey, there's something cool about this robot stuff. Do you think you need robots in studios? And so, kind of riffing back and forth, more of like robots to hold a camera or maybe be a prop or that kind of stuff, especially in virtual production. But that slowly evolved, and I think this is a good segue to Corey to bring in the narrative aspect of what robotics could do for storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess a little bit my background. So you're manufacturing, but yeah, I'm a entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur at this point. But yeah, having worked better part of 20 years in the production space, government work, and broadcast television for the most part. But yeah, now developing studio infrastructure. That's where we've been at for 5 years or so. But yeah, when we were hanging out, and you approached me about all this, and it was just an interesting time in my industry and all the advancements that was happening in your world. But yeah, just the opportunity um, to cross pollinate there just got me really excited. Again, with my industry just kind of being in the doldrums, um, just what's coming down the pipe,
Mm.
and I'm again as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for what's next. But um, yeah, it just got me really excited. Just as mediums have changed, film, and then TV came along, and then social media, and just now we've got to the point where yeah, it's vertical video that drives me insane. Yeah, we've lost our way, so many respects. But yeah, what I got excited about the robotics because it was a riff on yeah the virtual production, what that did a few years back, and again here's a new thing that's charting a new course. But I think bringing the bringing the digital into the real world was the next evolutionary step of all that.
Mhm.
There was a lot of technical requirements that had to be developed over time for that to occur. But but yeah, now that Unreal Engine and all these capabilities that we have, like that information is there. And so again, well, just plop it into a form, a real form factor that can go walk around in the environment that we inhabit. And yeah, to me it was just again a new step into the opportunity to develop a whole new medium. Um, because but yeah, where my passion really is still story. The medium really doesn't matter. That's will forever evolve and change. Be that the written word or be that oil paintings. Stuff changes, and that's fine.
Mhm.
Um, and again, it's just very very exciting of what could be, what robotics could bring to this. Um, I was going to say to the space, but I think for humanity, of I mean, obviously all the use cases that people are just generally aware of you know go down into this mine and take care of dangerous things that we don't want to do. But from the entertainment perspective, just living life and um, how we can actually start engaging in things. Um, you know, aspects of where we do have sci-fi that kind of chart the course of some of those things. So be that Westworld as an example, or to me, I gravitate more towards the game that doesn't involve robotics, but where people can be active participants. This Blake, you were touching on some of this a little bit ago, but where you were going made me think about some of the stuff we've talked about numerous times of people have become NPCs. I think there absolutely are people that are just that by default, unfortunately, and there are people that are primary characters that have control over their existence. But yeah, we're tech sucked us into things that it's been creating more NPCs. And
Mhm.
then, but yeah, if you were to kind of give people their autonomy back and control over their lives, I think it's awesome potential.
Mhm.
Yeah, I I feel like that's been a theme in a lot of stuff that I've been thinking about lately is just like I think more people would choose to not be NPCs if they were empowered to make decisions. And the
Mm.
current ecosystem that they live in, politically, technologically, it it doesn't do that. is more interested in giving you the illusion of choice and then giving you some sort of a catered experience to extract the most data or value out of whatever experience that you're trying to have. Um, so like for me, I've really been gravitating towards things that prioritize that function of how do we give people meaningful decisions.
Hmm.
So like it just with the Windows 11 debacle and me going full-time Linux like that and just getting into open source, just the hey, this is a community of people that's actually collaborating
Hmm.
and creating real things that do real tasks and provide real value to people collaboratively. It's not some company coming in and saying, hey, we have this great product, we're also here to make money and that's our number one, not you know, we're here to offer a real value to our customer. Like that's the romanticized businessmen, right? It's like
Hmm.
somebody who's product focused, a Steve Jobs type person, right? So somebody who's actually like, we're here to make great products that are going to make people's lives better, and then it just kind of I feel like at scale, everything's kind of gone away from that, and it's actually not about that. It's about building hype machines and
Hmm. Hmm.
um, products that like sell you on the idea that it does something rather than actually like solve a real problem.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, just like I've been really like just as I've gotten more into open source stuff, I feel like that's like the thing that's given me hope. you know, just like being able to be like, oh man, but like I see the kind of grand scale of the tech space, just like the trajectory is just going down in terms of like quality of service, um, the capability of users, just like, hey, here's a computer system that is yours, and you're the end user, and you're the authority here, you're the admin. Just like more and more algorithms and data collection ends up being just like we're actually just creating vehicles to collect data to
Hmm.
sell, rather than hey, I want to create a computer that actually like helps you do more work and be more productive.
Hmm.
And just like those two kind of values just seem to diverge
Yep.
when I think that there is somewhere in the middle where you can make something that is empowering to the customer and the user while also making a ton of money. But it's like we need short-term gains instead of long-term gains. But I feel like the kind of forces at work are prioritizing those short-term gains rather than actually like, well, hey, if we just build a really great platform that everybody wants to be on,
Hmm.
you know, we will make more money in the long term. But because of something fiduciary duty, I have to legally make the decision that is like the worst option for everything, and I feel like that's just like the tech landscape at
Hmm.
large.
I mean, there's also something like the process over the outcome. Like,
Hmm.
are you proud of what you did? How did you go about doing it? And
Mm.
sometimes the outcome, there's so many cheat codes on the outcome, like raise enough money and get the marketing going, hire the right marketing agency. You can keep on adding the cheat codes on there. Um, Lying is a good one, like Theranos.
Yeah.
Um, but like I tried something personally for myself recently. Anti cheat code. How about that? I'll
Hmm.
go lead that. And this is diverting a little bit away from our topic, but I think it's relevant. But I was hiring a robotics engineer, and I had 150 resumes, and I'm the only hiring manager for that role. And that was like daunting. I was trying to look through all the tools I was going to do. Like, how do I digest all of this and still doing my job? And obviously it's 2026. AI. You're gonna have it digest it. You can put a markdown file for all of your hot topics. And I just started getting sick of that. I was like, what if it was my resume? I would want someone. I spent the last 20 years building it. Can someone just read it? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I'll stay late at work. I'll figure it out. I'll be late on a project or two. But these people, I'll do my best to try to like sift the ones I shouldn't read the whole thing out of. But these people spend anywhere between 10, 20 years building their life. You know, I can at least read their resume. And I read through all of it. And during that time, I actually used it as you know, a practice. I was like, is this the one? Is this the one? What is my mind telling me? What is my heart telling me? I was praying about it too. And I limited. I had 5 people that HR would ended up, first round of interviews. And I ran across this one name. I didn't even read their interview. I was like, this is the one. I can't tell you why. Then I read the resume and was like, it's pretty interesting. Okay, it's good. It doesn't match any of my criteria that I had put before me. It would not have matched that markdown file that I would have done. And I was like, I won't tell, what I'll do blind interviews. I will not be part of any of the panels. I'll set that up for everyone else. Let's see if the process works. And out of all, I had 4 people who matched that, the job description and exactly, what I had put together. 4 great, great candidates. And this other person that's like hands down, unanimously across 3 different hiring panels, the person that I had picked as the wild card got highlighted. I didn't talk with him. I had looked at the resume one time, but I went through that process of like just honoring these people. And I don't know. I can call it maybe God. I think maybe at the table we could agree that, but I think there's something that we can start honoring people. And the outcome was great for me. I got the great feedback on this, and they started, and they're doing fantastic.
But out of curiosity, did you happen to retroactively go back and actually run it through in your AI traditional systems that you use?
No, I didn't. I was like, I put the hard work in. I don't want to. I'm not going to try even cheating now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just
Yeah.
curious. I'm sure it would not have pulled this person out of the pile.
No, not at all. And you know what? People lied on their resumes. You can look at it. The ones that were qualified for the job, the ones that were, um, I mean, you've probably seen enough resumes already. You can kind of look through it, and you're like, something doesn't match. Like, you have this skill set, and then you have a completely different skill set, and then and it's compounding against something else. You're like, something doesn't make sense here, and you can weed those out pretty quickly. Um, but yeah, this one just read like you know, like a journal. Like I could tell from the internship, like you went and worked really hard to get this. And from that internship, I could see where the next step was, the next evolution, the next evolution. They were like true to themselves. And I was like, that's empowering. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, the connection I'm making in my mind as you're telling this story is like that to me that just sounds like storytelling,
Mm,
And I mean that's kind of the topic that we always keep bringing up, right? Is
yeah.
even if it's in a resume, they portrayed their information in a way that they were able to tell their story to you just by reading it.
Yep.
And I think something about storytellers is it's about connection. And, so you can look at that and you can be like, ah, yeah, this is the person. And I don't know why, but it's probably just because you felt a connection with that person and you felt like you understood who they are just
Mm,
by the story that they told about themselves,
hmm
you know? Not saying that the other people aren't qualified. I'm sure they all were, but you know, when it is kind of depersonalized and just here's a sheet of paper representing who I am, if you can figure out how to embed a story in that medium, I like that's an effective communicator.
hmm
And I mean, yeah, just that's just something that I'm kind of connecting in my head of just I mean, yeah, we've been talking about the importance of storytelling and
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
AI is going, and yeah.
Yeah. I don't. You started off telling that story saying it was a departure from what we're talking about here, but I think that hits the heart of it.
mm,
I mean, all the rest of it's just the trappings. Again, a robot, entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. And that's again back to my point of crafting a new medium.
yes.
That stuff's irrelevant. I couldn't care less. But it's yeah, getting back to humanity.
hmm
That's the important part.
And I don't know. There's something about, and I go back to the campfire. People around the campfire, they were telling the stories for culture and for edification and for entertainment. And it wasn't to try to sell you, to go to somebody else's campfire. It was, there's something like magical. Maybe magical is a great word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to bring magic back, and I think it's not about the robot. It's about an embodiment of a next generation of technology that if you can get there, you can be part of it, you can actually set the course
Mm.
and inspire people back to that campfire.
That's good.
Yeah. I think that campfire analogy is very symbolic. I think, because I've I've studied storytelling for a while, and the really neat thing to me is that it does go back to that idea of the campfire.
Mhm.
Storytelling is something that we've done a really long time.
Yes.
Even when we were just hunter gatherers, it's just like even when our language was minimal, and just it was grunts and hand motions, and like being
Mhm.
able to tell stories through that, like you could pass time, you could entertain, you could pass information. It was like this kind of fundamental communication method.
Mhm.
And there's an interesting tidbit about, like, I read about the emotional development of, like, how we as humans have developed emotions. And essentially, this person was arguing that, like, the first fundamental um, emotion was gratitude,
Yep.
and everything is kind of downstream of that, and just like, oh, somebody did something for me and didn't expect anything in return. I feel gratitude towards that person. And when we're in a tribe and I feel gratitude towards the other people in my tribe, suddenly our survivability goes up, our ability to work together goes up.
Mhm.
Um, and having shared histories shared through story kind of builds that identity, and really taps into something really core and primal, I think, and what it means to be human. And yeah, just that kind of like story, I think, just taps into something really, really deep down in
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah. I mean, not only is it ancient, but it is the most effective mechanism. And you brought up spiritual earlier, but
Mhm.
Jesus Christ, you know, undeniably the most impactful person that ever existed, whether or not what people think.
Yeah.
Um, but he told parables, but because
Mm.
the language and things change. Um, Books get burned, stuff gets destroyed, but the stories endure, and yeah, transcend time and space. Like that's why it's still here. Um, so you know,
Yeah. For sure. I just want to get more stories, not to inspire or get scared to do an action, but to be something.
Mm.
The action shouldn't be to buy or to be scared or to vote. I want to be like, who am I becoming through this? How was I seen or how I seen myself? And I think that may be a good segue into what Blake was saying. Let's talk about, what that demo looked like, you know,
mhm.
um, because that was very inspiring to me what you had come up with, Corey, on what a storyline could be using, virtual production and robotics. And like, what was the culmination of that was inspiration and being seen.
Mhm.
And I think that was inspiring. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah. Well, dive into that specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's certainly many things I've learned along the way in my career. But yeah, just aspects of positivity outshines negativity. Um, so many factors, but yeah, glass glass half full approach to things. But yeah, talking about the tech demo. Yeah, the approach we ended up taking with that, yeah, was to tell a Christmas story. Um, and I mean, it checked so many technical boxes of things that we were trying to do, um, to capture the imagination for starters. But so approaches, things with an elf. Like, okay, here's something that could be a cartoony humanoid, small form factor. So, as soon as you see it, you know that's not it's not a real person, that et cetera, et cetera. It really sucks you in. But yeah, but then the storyline about that of, pulling you into a narrative, and again, you're the main character in this story. Um, yeah, where that character's support side, you know, R2D2 C3PO,
Mhm.
that they're there to assist. They're not they're not there to really push the story forward. That's your role. That's humanity's role,
Yep.
and that's how I want it to stay. Um, Not to farm out these things that have been bestowed upon us, steward. Um, Not to just push that off onto robotics. We have our role to play, to the tech overlords. Um, uh, Not at all. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know how much more I could say about that particular demo.
Yeah.
But is that I don't think that's even necessarily one Blake's talking about though. Talking
Oh,
about
okay.
the choral conference stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, that's more your wheelhouse. Well, but we really hadn't even dove into that too much, how
Yeah.
that would look or anything. But with that said, I suppose that there is certainly overlap between the two things.
Right. I mean, the choral conference demo, we're trying to like really showcase the marriage of where virtual production and robotics is the beginning of the next chapter of storytelling here. Um, because robotics is limited at this time for sure, and the number of systems you can get out there is limited. Having that virtual production help tell that story, help build that world building. Um, and this is something actually pretty magical here. I had a great conversation with an Imagineer, Disney Imagineer, building his own company, and you know, kind of this this narrative here. If you have one robot, it's a novelty. Two robots, you can have a consensus on a narrative. But then when you start adding three, now you're building world because you've been a bystander in a restaurant. You could listen to somebody in the background, and they are talking about something. It's interesting, right? But it's their world at their table. But when you add that, the waiter going back and forth, now you're at a restaurant, right? It brings you into this, and it's building and connecting their stories and what's happening in their life right now. They come to your table and changing, adding food to your table. It's that third player, and you have the consensus on where we are, what we're doing, um, and have you add the layers on top of that, it just gets super immersive and super awesome. And that's where robotics and narrative really start getting excited. Is that N of three and above? But not to go too far. I'm very interested in Blake. What do you think about the intersection of choose your own story? I think a lot of tech people who are not narrative savvy think that they're going to be able to create products that people can create their own like video game stories or movie stories. Um, I don't agree with that. And I
Hmm.
would love to hear your opinion on like where's that balance of where you're
Mm,
interacting,
yeah.
you're narrating X, and technology helps with the rest.
Well, my mind's going to two places. One is that's just video games, but video games are really railroaded. It's not
Mm,
actually an open world, even if it gives the illusion of an open world. You know,
right.
the only way you can interact with it is the way that the toolbox is presented to you. So, okay, I can walk up to something and push a button, or I can whip out my gun and shoot it and see what happens, right? Like that's the extent of how you can interact with something. You can't walk up to a character. You can't have, you know, a question prompt completely. undesigned side quest, right?
Hmm.
So that I think that is changing with people adding LLMs into like NPC dialogue. It's still a little slow, but like that's kind of a cool experiment. I've yet to see a big studio or even just like an actual like game release do something like that.
Hmm.
The other thing that takes my mind too is that's just Dungeons and Dragons. You have a game master, you have a dungeon master, somebody that understands what is the story that I am trying to tell. And
Hmm.
I'm building
Mhm.
this world for my player characters to interact with. And the success of this story lives and dies by my ability to improv, to
Hmm.
come up with something. If we go off track, how do I bring it back? Um, or if an opportunity presents itself, let's just go off the deep end and into this whole other thing. Just yeah, just like I think that might be something that I would really look at if you're trying to find that kind of I forget how you phrased it, but the um yeah, just like individuals and users interacting with something that is creating story.
Hmm.
I mean, I think the easiest analog we have is something like a tabletop RPG where you are playing in the theater of the mind, right? Is it's
Hmm.
imagination. Um, I talked a little bit earlier about like suspending disbelief,
Hmm.
and it's why I like animation so much because it's not ground in reality, so it can do something ridiculous, and me as a viewer just goes, "That looks cool. I'm bought in." Whereas in live action, if an effect is done poorly, I kind of just go, that fell flat. I'm kind of
The whole movie can
disinterested.
tank for me. One
Yeah.
scene.
hmm
Yep.
But I think theater of the mind is very similar to animation, where like because it's not grounded in reality, if you have a really talented dungeon master who's setting the stage and giving you as a player the right prompts, the right information that makes you make connections and be like, "Oh, this is my idea," but like really it's the DM that planted the breadcrumbs that made you
Hmm.
make those connections in your mind. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely what our approach has been with all this is to provide the tools and the connections to the real creatives, the producers that are out there. Um, again, to build this world and then for the player to step into.
Hmm.
Um, because I mean, I can't remember the actual psychological traits for everything, but I mean, there's a lot of people have egos and think that they are creative types, but there's actually very few creative people in this world.
hmm
Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, people think that making beautiful images is
yeah.
creative, and to some degree, it is. But I think it's more centered around a craft rather than an actual understanding of
Hmm.
fundamentally what is creativity and how do I tell stories through that? Because I think most of creativity is derived from story.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So the objective there is just to get these proper tools into the creator's hands
Hmm.
and turn them loose. Like
Yes.
here's a whole new sandbox to go play in. Like wow, I never imagined this.
Yes. And I think we could double click on that.
Ironically, they're
Yeah.
creatives, but they couldn't
Double
imagine
click. I like that.
uh, what's inspiring to me is like everything that I see on technology for manufacturing and even in the home, it's it's a race to the bottom. Whoever get the
hmm
cheapest thing that can do the minimum viable product, like they can do the task. But when it comes to storytelling and when it comes to creatives, it's the intellectual property you're building on top that actually elevates the technology. The
Yeah.
technology is the next pen, is the next TV or radio wave. It's not really about that. It's about something that carries the value,
hmm
and I think that's beautiful for me is because I mean I get down to like every single like percentage like the robot has 80% utilitarian like because the battery only lasts 20 hours and then it can move this much product. I get down to the how many ounces it can do. It's it's a minutia that gets to me really quickly. But thinking about robotics as a carrier of value as
Mhm.
opposed to being the value itself, that gets exciting to
Mm.
me
Yep.
as an engineer.
So then
Yeah.
how do you differentiate between those two values?
And that, well, that's tying into that virtual production.
Mhm.
So the robot right now, the way that the system is, there's nothing there like be able to carry the value yet. It's
Yeah.
not capable yet. That's why we're talking about virtual production. So we're blending in multiple things to
Mhm.
carry that story, carry the IP, carry that um, belief or suspension of belief for the people interacting with it. Um,
Well, and
yeah.
again, well, that's where our worlds collide.
Yeah.
Of just yeah, you're a mad scientist that's got these robots, but you don't know what to do with them, so they just sit in the corner and collect dust.
Yep.
I'm being you know still metaphorical here, but but then at the same time, on my side, we got these people that just keep rehashing same old, same old. Got a remake of a remake, and
Yeah.
it's so tiresome.
Just the
Um,
formula over and over and over again.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, and it's an absolute shame. It shouldn't be that way, but and I think traditional media still it can certainly still pull up, and I'm not saying that it's toast by any stretch. I I believe it can come back absolutely, but at the same time, here's some more alternatives.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so
it's just making me think about like a lot of these IPs are built off of good storytellers, and people fell in love with the story of these IPs.
mhm.
And then these IPs are monetized because people are associating these things with the story that they fell in love with, right? So, and it's yeah, it's that kind of exploitation of story by going, oh well, let's just apply the same formula to it over and over and over until now I'm just like Star Wars comes to mind. It's just like
Hmm.
I personally, I'm really not a fan of any of the movies. Like, but I love the Star Wars universe. I think it's really well put together. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff in it. And then, just like individually now, just everything is so derivative. And you watch a movie and it's just like, this is just uninspiring to me.
Hmm.
But like some of the best uh, Star Wars experience that I've had is from a tabletop RPG called Edge of the Empire. And just like it's just D&D again, but in Star Wars. And just like, well, let's just use this world that we have a knowledge of and role play and actually like use that to kind of tell story and actually embody these characters to maybe even take us out of our own bodies and take our minds and put them in these imaginary people and
Yeah.
all the little things and just like our minds we're pattern seeking creatures, like we want
Mhm.
to see these things and make these connections and that's just how we normally operate. And when you are kind of like, here's the sandbox, here's a bunch of things to make connections with, you just start doing it.
Hmm.
Well, that's well, again, all the corporate structures and just ways that media has gone. We got these big universes
Hmm.
um, getting pulled in all that. And you just stay on the Star Wars thing for as an example, but with Tarantino, he talks about. I've never heard him talk about this specifically, but him talking about just kind of why he prefers film over TV because yeah, TV is derivative and it turns into soap operas and it's just to get you to the next episode. It just never ends. But film, historically, where there's a beginning, middle, and end, and it's all she wrote. Um, well, he stick on Tarantino. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he said he's never seen Toy Story 4 because Toy Story 3 ended it. And it's just like it's done.
Hmm.
I'm not watching anymore, and good for him. He should stay away. Um, but yeah, but for Star Wars, it's just we're just going to keep milking it. But I mean, to that end, but the way that they're milking it, I mean, it's a world. It's a whole galaxy. of excitement that could be occurring.
Yep.
But you got 9 movies that amounts to nothing more than a family squabble. Eh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
3 generations of the same family. It's just bad. It's bad storytelling. Um,
And I can tell you, hands down, any movie that I've ever walked into, walked out of, whether it's a watched it at home or watched it at the movie theater, if it's good and impactful and it like really rocked my world, I can tell you what I was feeling that day. I could tell you who I was watching it with, what was going on in my life, because it's all like fused it, right? It took me away. It like bonded. I like the
mhm.
things that I was struggling with. I figured something out on that storyline. It inspired me. But to Blake's point, like the Star Wars, you know, by the time I got to the third or fourth one, it was like it was not about that. It was about making another Star Wars film, and even the marketing and everything leading up to that. I was watching the next one, chasing what the connection I had to myself for the first one.
Mhm,
I mean, Project Hail Mary that just recently came out,
mhm.
and I was like, this is an epic film. Like I can connect my with the characters, and I'm learning something about myself
Mm,
um, through this story,
Mhm.
regardless of how you guys feel about the
yeah.
movie. But that's how I walked away with it, and I'll always know that I watched it with this person, this person, and like it in, and I was dealing with this, and this at the time. So it was about me in the story, and it
Yeah,
wasn't about just trying to chase the feeling from something else.
absolutely. Yeah, well, because because that's what you're doing. You're trying to chase this nostalgic
No,
high that you received. But yes, that is the entire essence of the story structure there. I mean, that's what the protagonist's role is. You should be
yes,
able to insert yourself into that person's role. That's some of the, people try to shorthand, oh, the protagonist, he's the good guy, right? Uh,
Mhm.
more often than not, yeah. But there's plenty of stories where it's the bad guy. Um,
hmm
um, but yeah, it's like the protagonist is driving the story forward, and you should be able to relate to it. But again, sticking with Star Wars, like I can't relate to this. Like there's nothing relatable anymore. Like where it used to be, kids used to be able to see themselves more often than not. They would side with Han Solo. Like okay, I can see this.
yeah,
Even Luke. I mean, there was just this mysteriousness about the Force that like you can't relate to that, and that's fine. That's fine. Like this is bigger than me. Like this is something spiritual going on here.
yeah,
But then then you reduce it down to uh, kids trying to move cups across their table or something. But then you reduce it down to oh, it's just some germs in your blood or something. Like okay, whatever. I don't care anymore. You've
yeah.
lost me. Um, but I don't,
Well, like I really like how you phrase that of just like I remember watching Project Hail Mary because it connected with me. I remember where I was at. And there is something deeply emotional about storytelling.
Yep.
And um I was talking with my parents and my aunt recently,
Mhm.
and they basically said the exact same thing, but they were talking about 80s music.
Yeah.
So when a song would come out, they're like, I remember the first time I heard this song, it was at the school dance, and I went there with so and so. And I'm just like, I couldn't remember any of that. I don't have that type of relationship with the music I heard growing up. But I'm wondering if, just like, especially like if you go back and look at old movies,
hmm
like, they don't really stand up. Not just technically and visually, but even just, like, the acting, the storytelling, it's almost like maybe storytelling as a craft has, like, undergone a very serious innovation just in the last 2 generations, just with the existence of movies. That art form is really not that old,
Yeah.
and, like, I'm wondering if since new heights are kind of being hit in storytelling, you know, kind of what we're talking about the like studio model trying to chase that by figuring out what's the formula? Let's just do that over and over again. And it's just people trying to chase those heights. But then,
Mhm.
somebody like Denis Villeneuve comes along and says, hey, here's Dune 1 and 2. And it's like, wow,
Yeah.
this is incredible because this is an actual filmmaker, an actual storyteller. This is the
Mhm.
story I want to tell you about my favorite book, which is Dune. And it's like that is just somebody who loves that book and that author and
Mhm.
has spent their entire life imagining in their head, oh man, if I could make a Dune movie, what would it look like? And they do that for 30 years and then they make it. And like, this is just like the culmination of somebody's lifetime work,
Mhm.
where a lot of other movies are just like, well, let's just make another Marvel movie. Okay, let's see. We need a protagonist and they need to do something that gets them their powers and then they're gonna, start saving people because that's what you're supposed to do, even though there's no like real deep emotional connection as to why they feel like they need to save people. And
Yeah.
just one thing leads to another, and then it's just the hero's journey all over again.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just making some connections
Yeah.
in my head
Great.
about like
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean,
the evolution of storytelling as a craft.
yeah. Well, and all those IPs, and I think that that's where it got. Well, all the IPs just became so studio focused, pumped out by the machine. They just run it through the formula, and out it spits on the other side. But and you were talking about this earlier, but of just the um, short term gains. They're not
Hmm.
looking at the long term. But yeah, I was just like, congratulations, you made several $1 billion on the latest Star Wars trilogy. But at the same time, it was death by a thousand cuts,
Hmm.
and nobody cares about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mando and Grogu, not a peep. No, nobody cares.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
just you. But again, like that was something that for decades and decades, like this is it was the world's greatest IP, and you destroyed it in a decade, a single decade.
Yep.
Um, it's astonishing. It's tragic.
Yeah. It's well, and now you can't. You've ruined it, and now no one's really interested in going again, right? But
Yeah,
they,
yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah. To
Well, I
try
mean,
to pull back out. I mean, yeah, I mean it's
I,
Star Wars of just
I think there's a
the
lot of
pedestal.
people willing to go back in, but the powers that be won't let them because they're looking at it and go, Star Wars is done. It's a commercial failure. Nobody cares about it anymore. Meanwhile, everybody cares deeply about it. They just don't want to see another
Well,
run
just
of
yeah,
the mill Disney
exactly.
Star Wars
well,
movie,
just the mere fact we're using it as the example here
Well,
today. Like,
look,
I mean,
look at Andor.
it touched our hearts. There's a reason for it. Like, there's a reason we're so passionate about it. Certainly, I speak for myself, but yeah, it's.
I, I think that's where we have to be really careful because they did make a lot of money,
Hmm.
right? But
Oh, absolutely.
it's it's not the immediate outcome. It's like the outcome after that is like that's where I want to get measure what really is
Mm-hmm.
the culmination of work is the inspiration's dead. You've
Hmm.
sucked it dry because you tricked people into coming back and buying the same slop
Mm-hmm.
over and over again. You dishonored the storyteller, you dishonored the story. Most importantly, you dishonored the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're around the campfire, you've probably been thrown in.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's where yeah, the outcome you want is not that you got somebody to sit and listen to your stupid story around the campfire. It's that they invited you back
Mm-hmm.
for the next campfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. Well, yeah, but there's repercussions for your actions. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, back in the savage days, absolutely. But yeah, it's like, but now when people do try to vocalize, I mean, it gets squashed,
Hmm.
like except for the very rare occasions. A very positive example was like the Sonic, um, when his character design came out, Sonic One,
Oh, yeah.
and oh, it was terrifying.
I mean, I
But
still think that was part of a viral marketing campaign. I don't think they
well,
actually really tried to make him that bad.
well,
But
however, whatever the narrative is,
I could believe it,
yeah, yes, I could believe that it was that bad, but at least the popular narrative is that yes, there was enough of a social outcry, and people are just like, you know, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know why anybody does, but But then they went back and redesigned it, and like this is the character everybody knows and loves. Hey, what a novel idea! That's great. But yeah, give the people what they want, and I mean they're not shy about telling you. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but again, yeah, talking about trying to pull up from Star Wars. I mean, they are making big changes over there at Disney.
Mhm.
Yeah, the personnel changes that they've made, and yeah, now they're starting to incorporate the original trilogy into their Star Wars land and John Williams music and all this stuff. Like again, I mean, something as simple as that. Just hey, what a great idea! We should use John Williams' original score.
Mhm.
It's like
Imagine.
yeah, it, it's crazy. It's crazy. So what were you playing this whole time? Star Trek music?
Mhm.
I might as well be.
Look, I just want to go to a theme park with a bunch of guys running around with ice cream makers. Okay,
Mhm.
just
I'm down for Will Hood.
mm-hmm.
There's the nerd coming out.
Yep.
Well, we haven't even started talking about Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, I'm very interested to see how they handle the remake. Could be good. I don't know.
The Search for Gollum thing? That one? Or
No,
they have
they're
more stuff
aren't
after
they
that?
remaking the? Oh no, I'm thinking of Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't even heard about this.
they're remaking Harry Potter.
Okay.
The HBO series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, HBO always does great things.
Always.
Ah,
Well, I mean, like
They did back in the day.
that's a really good example. I'm assuming you're talking about Game of Thrones, right?
I haven't even watched that. I
Oh
just
my
gave up.
goodness. Well, I think Game of Thrones as a show was really good until the end,
Mm.
and it's pretty widely believed to be that the showrunners one ran out of novel material, but also they tried to shut the show down as fast as they can because they wanted to go make a Star Wars movie because they got offered. But both HBO and George R. R. Martin were begging them to like please make this like 2 to 3 more seasons and then wrap it up. They're like, nope, we got to do it in one, and it's going to be 6 episodes. They're all going to be 2 hours long, and by the way, they're all going to suck. And so I think a lot of people look at the way that Game of Thrones ended and they think that it's just a bad ending. It's like me personally, I have no issue with the state that it ended. It's just that they like skipped all of the story bit and ended up with, and this is how it happened and the end. It's like, okay, like we just need to be guided in that direction in a way that makes sense. So it's not the ending that's bad. It's the fact that they cut out all of the story, in my opinion. And it's just because they wanted to go make a prestigious Star Wars movie, and you know, it kind of ruins the entire like almost decade long show that they worked so hard to make that so many people loved, and just because the storytellers just kind of gave up on it and just wanted to burn it at the end, it's like the endings are a really important part of the story. Like that's where a lot of the like meaning and emotion comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's the back to the Tarantino example. You got true bookends of a narrative here, and talking about Lord of the Rings or original Star Wars or the original Harry Potters. Like there was there was a beginning and end to these things, and they were great. Their original run through to the end.
Yep.
Think about HBO, Sopranos, Band of Brothers. Not exactly a show, but like those today are still held up as like these are like the greatest things ever made. But if they just kept milking it,
yep, no one likes being manipulated.
Yeah. I respect your audience,
especially when it's done so blatantly. Just like yeah, let's manipulate the audience. Okay, how are we going to do it? The most minimal effort possible. Okay, cool.
Well, did I say Willow?
Mm.
Oh. Well, what do we need to do to get us back on track here? I'm all down for geeking out, but at the same time,
well, I think
to fold it back into.
Yeah, I think for the people who are listening to this, I just we think that some really cool things are coming out. Things that get you actually away from screens and into the real world and experience stories for the first time in true 3D.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and and to actually be part of that, actually part of the story, but also part of this like time and in
Mm.
technology. And I think people are epitomizing it as like we're too young to be living in outer space, but we're not, we're being caught up in between the two worlds because of a lull period.
Mhm.
But I think this is where the storytelling, some really, we can empower people. That's what I think
Mm.
we're talking about here. Empower the next generation of storytellings, stellar tellers to take up this new paintbrush.
Mhm.
I think that's what we want the audience really to come away with listening today is that's coming out. Get excited. But more, and
Yeah.
I think we're also saying through this whole thing is get picky. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Please have an
please
opinion.
have an
Please have
opinion.
taste.
Absolutely. And let's hold up good storytelling.
Mhm.
Let's actually put him on a pedestal and keep that high there for a long time because we're about to have an evolution of storytelling, and we should really put it to the test and keep storytelling as something that we cherish as being human.
Mhm.
Back to that campfire moment. Yeah,
Mhm.
let's throw the bad storytellers out and let's invite the good ones to come back,
Mm.
and be very vocal about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mean, yeah, we certainly spent most of our time on storytelling, obviously, which again is the heart of all this. But yeah, I mean, what sucked me into this again is, I mean, obviously these technological advancements. But the cool thing is that I mean, I was absolutely blown away. I mean, when you start showing me truly what's going on behind the scenes,
Hmm.
eh, I mean, Olaf running around, et cetera, like that's small potatoes.
Oh yeah.
Like it's wild. I'm speaking to the creatives out there that are listening to this. Again,
Hmm.
stuff like that's nothing, yeah, compared to what I've seen, and so I mean, that's why I've jumped on this.
Hmm.
It's wildly exciting. So yeah, it's just opportunity, and for humanity. It's
Totally. Yeah,
yeah.
you can physically remove humanity and take them to Mars, or you can inspire humanity right here
Mhm.
to have that Mars moment
Yeah.
right where they are.
All right. Is that all we got?
We're just over an hour. That's a good wrap point right there.
Works for
Cool.
me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sweet.
that was good.
That was good. You need some room tone?
That's probably good.
Yeah.
Chirp, chirp.
Chirp, chirp, chirp. I don't know. I think that was good.
That
We
was
talked a
pretty
lot
great.
about story, but I mean, I think thematically that's good. And it really ties into Corey's end of being in the media landscape.
Hmm.
My history as a content creator and a storyteller, and just your experience and just connecting the dots and seeing what's actually possible with robotics is like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's like the connecting thread is story, right? So I mean, I think that's really good. My only concern is like that's kind of a hard thing to really like start bridging topics into other things,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm maybe that's like the real value point of conversations like this is, you know, yeah, we're talking about story, but also like let's just imagine a little bit and kind of see what the future could hold in terms of what opportunities are out there, what technologies out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think tech demos can start helping
Hmm.
visualize that, um, because there's gonna like we will need to have topics,
Oh yeah, yeah.
because we built
I
a
mean,
bunch of robot programs to optimize transporting goods back and forth, but have we written those software to optimize how people experience,
yeah.
interactive, like just emotional kind of stuff, feedback? Like, nothing's there. A whole generation of new entrepreneurs are going to be able to come in and do this. So I think maybe next podcast we actually think about where do we think next really cool like Microsoft and Google's are
Mm,
going to be
mhm.
built
Yeah.
in this space. Because if you look at like if you Gone with the Wind, if you take it how much money they made off that movie, the box office,
Mhm.
and to today's dollars, it's like $3 billion.
Yeah.
So this is big, like just on the money side, on the cultural side as well. Like, what are the technologies that can actually make this happen? I think probably would be a really cool podcast.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. I think it'll be good to just over the next week or 2, just until the next one, or it's just like, let if something pops in your head about a good topic
yep,
or maybe a good connection, yeah, just let's just write all this down, and then, we can actually go into an actual recording with, these are the topics that we wanna hit.
yep.
This is what we wanna cover. Um,
We
you
have
know
we have a couple more probably guest people
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
can pull in too.
yeah. Especially with guests, we can, what are their strengths? What
Yep,
kinda good questions can we give them to really get the conversation going? Um